Becky. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to me, if you're already subscribed, I'm so glad to have you back. And I thought I would sit down today. I don't think I've ever filmed on a Saturday. The sun's trying to go down, so the lighting is super weird. But I had been thinking about this video for a while, and I just had the title written down. No notes, no definite thoughts. And then today, all the thoughts came to me. And I thought, well, now is probably a good time to share this video while I feel like I have the strength to share it, because it is a sensitive topic that is hard for me to talk about, and I have to try to be really careful about how emotional I let myself get these days, because I could very easily get upset and just kind of cry continuously. And I don't want to do that to you guys, but I thought I would sit down and talk to you guys about motherhood and a little bit of encouragement for you all, especially if you are thinking ahead to older teenage years, young adult years, or you're in those years yourself. That's very much the stage of life that I'm in. If you guys don't know already, we have two girls. We have a 20-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter. We homeschool both of them. Well, we did. Our oldest has since graduated our homeschool high school. She's also since graduated college. She's working. She's in a serious relationship. And so things are very different. And, you know, being the oldest, it's like my first time doing this. And then, of course, we still have our 14-year-old daughter who is homeschooling and will be in the 9th grade in the fall. So if you are a mom of little kids, this is a video for you to hopefully encourage you of what's to come, the good and the bad. And if you are in the same stage of life as me or nearing it very soon, I think this video will be an encouragement. It's not gonna sound like it in the beginning, but just hang on there. So the question is, if you saw the title, is mothering easier when your kids are older? And the answer is most definitely 100% no. And I could just stop the video right there and not say another thing. No, it is not. And that surprised me just as much as anybody. So I have a bunch of things typed up, and I'll be looking down quite a bit to try to keep my thoughts in order, because I am very scattered these days. And so I thought I would type them up and try to put them in a sequential order that makes sense for you guys. So first of all, when you have younger kids, I feel like the main difference between younger kids and older kids is younger kids require a lot more of your physical abilities, your physical, you know, the battery that you can run on, how little sleep you can get, and how early you need to get up, and how you need to take the kids to school and to practice and all these places. They have, you know, they need you for literally everything. That's very much the mom life of a younger kid or younger kids. For older kids, I've noticed that it's definitely, there's still some physical things involved, but really it's mostly an emotional challenge. It is going to take a lot of mental capacity on your part to be the mother, an active mother of an older child. And I've never, and I can say this very, very clearly because it feels like just yesterday, I was in my early 20s, and I have never been tested more as a person, not just as a mother, but as a person, I feel like, than I am right now, currently parenting, the last couple years, so parenting an older teenager and now a young adult. It just has been very eye-opening to me. I didn't realize that there was going to be so much involved of me mentally and emotionally as there is. And this whole season that I'm in of raising, you know, an older teen, young adult, has pulled things out of me that either I did not know were there, or they were things that I thought were old me, like old Becky. Becky's learned so much since then. I've grown so much since then, and I have. But it has pulled things out of me that I did not know existed, or I did not know were still there. And that's been very eye-opening for me. It has been a test of a lot of my insecurities, my weaknesses, my doubts, and my fears. Those things have never been more active in my life than they are right now. And even when I was in my 20s, like I remember my 20s very well. That was my worst period as far as like rebelling, you know, testing the waters, figuring things out, asking questions, even if I knew the answer, not wanting to know the answer. I remember all that very clearly. My mom always said I didn't go through my terrible 2s, I went through my terrible 20s. And so I remember all of that struggle and all of that inner turmoil and all of that stuff from back then. And I can't believe that some of those things that I thought that I learned from through those experiences, I can't believe they're still there, and they're presenting themselves again now that I have a daughter who is 20 years old. And it's just been really amazing, interesting to me. And my oldest daughter has seen more of me as a human, more of my my fallible nature. I think she has seen more of me than I wanted her to. I know it's not necessarily the way that it should be, but I feel like as a parent, you try, or at least I tried, somewhat knowingly, somewhat unknowingly, to maybe act like that I didn't have these weaknesses. I didn't have these fears, insecurities, doubts, bad habits, bad mental pattern habits. I tried to either ignore them or pretend like they weren't there because I felt like I needed so much to be an example. And I feel like she has seen in the last year or two especially a lot more of me as a human being than just her mom. And that's been interesting. I think she likes some parts of that, knowing that I do make mistakes and I'm not perfect, and I've shared some of my mistakes with her that I made when I was about her age. You know, different things like that. So it's been really a really interesting dynamic that's not been easy, but it's been freeing in a lot of ways, and it's been also very difficult in a lot of ways because, like I said, it is pulling things out of me that I didn't know were still there, or things that I didn't want to experience again, and they have kind of resurfaced. And so I feel like even though it's a huge time of growth for her, it's also either a time of potential growth for me, a second chance to go back through some of these things that are still in me, that are lurking, that I didn't know were there, that I can try to work on, if that makes any sense. So basically, mothering an older teenager, young adult, is you're constantly torn between not wanting them to leave and worrying that you didn't prepare them enough to be able to leave and survive on their own. You're torn between wanting them to learn from their mistakes and trying to help them avoid making mistakes. You're conflicted between wanting them to find a good person to be in a relationship with and maybe one day marry, but then how that relationship might change their relationship with you and what your new role in their life will be. You're struggling between holding them as tight as you can, but also knowing that you need to let them go. And it's very difficult to be aware of how numbered your days are of maybe them being at home, and not letting that realization ruin those last few days, months, years that they are at home. It's a very contradictory thing, and takes a lot of mental effort to not let every experience and every moment be ruined now, knowing that those moments are numbered and there's not many more of them left. So I've never in my life felt more at odds with myself than I do right now. And that's saying something for me, because I am always at odds with myself. I always have kind of two mindsets going on about most things. Like, do I want this? Do I not want this? Well, I do want this, but then there's always this rationalization going on in my mind. I'm very conflicted about a lot of things. And I overanalyze a lot of things, and I second guess a lot of things. So to say that I've never been more at odds with myself than I am right now, that is saying something. But it is definitely true. And I told my youngest daughter, because she's kind of on the back end of this. She's with me still the most. She's home all day. She sees a lot of the back end of struggles that I'm going through trying to help my oldest daughter, and struggles that I'm dealing with, things pertaining to her, my oldest daughter. And she's seeing that on the back end. And I remember telling her in the car the other day, I said, please try to remember this when you are, around that age, and you think I'm just messing everything up, and I'm always in your Kool-Aid, and I don't know what I'm doing. Please try to remember this side of it. And she has seen kind of the struggle and the anguish and the worry and all the things that are going on behind the scenes that maybe my oldest daughter doesn't see right now, because she's very much focused on what's going on right in front of her. And I told my youngest, please remember this. So maybe when you're her age, maybe you'll remember what I went through and what I'm doing for you and what I did for your sister, and how much love there is behind that. Even if you get annoyed with me, please try to remember that. She probably won't, but I did tell her that anyway, just because she is seeing it all go down kind of firsthand. So I know what I've said so far about raising older teens and young adults sounds terrible. But that's not what I want you to take away from this video. The main thing I want to help you see is motherhood is never easy. Every second of every day is difficult in some way. And as your kids get older, it's not any less difficult. It's just the difficulties change. So, maybe you're not worrying about feeding times and getting up in the middle of the night, or a kid that gets up super early, or homework assignments, or maybe you're not worried about so much of that stuff, but those things are going to be replaced by other things, some of which the stakes are higher for. I mean, that's just the truth. They are. The stakes are higher at this age than they are when they're younger, because they have a lot of more decisions to make. They have some decisions that are life altering, planning, you know, whether it's school, education, career, relationships, you know, jobs, driving, all these different things. The stakes are higher as they get older. But it doesn't mean that there aren't difficulties when kids are young. It just means that they get different difficulties as they get older. And also, looking back now as the mom of a 20-year-old, I'm able to look back and see parenting mistakes that I made. And I can't go back and fix those things. And all I can do is try to correct it as best I can with my youngest, and then give myself grace for the rest of it. And that's not easy either, because, you know, I'm not good at forgiving myself for things that I see as mistakes. So that is something else that has come from having a 20-year-old and being my first child, and knowing that I knew nothing about kids when I had her. I never even babysat when I had my oldest. So, you know, I have made a lot of mistakes along the way. I have apologized to her for some of those things, and some of those things I did catch early on and changed that with her younger sister. But some things I didn't catch until like recently, the last couple years. And so I am trying to pivot somewhat with my youngest and be like, okay, we need to work a lot more on this, or I need to work a lot more on myself in regard to this, because it will affect my kids in this certain way. So it is very eye-opening. There will be growing pains for you and your child at this stage. I think it's just natural. It's just like there was a growing pain for you when you had a kid, maybe you added a second kid or third kid. There are going to be growing pains for you as the parent, not just the child, but especially at this stage when things are becoming so different and there are so many things changing at once. It is a very big growth experience for you as well. And you may be forced to take a good, long, hard look at yourself as not only a mother, but also as a person, which is what I have been doing the last year or so. And if you've seen some of the videos that I've made earlier this year about, you know, bettering myself, trying to stop being a spectator of my own life, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, those videos are very much part of this journey that I'm on. So me as a mom, but also me as a person. You know, I am 43, almost 44 years old, and I do have an older child, and I have learned a lot about her and myself in the realm of mothering, but I've also have been learning a lot about myself and looking into myself as far as who I am as a person. So that is still kind of a journey that I'm on at the same time as this mothering journey. I'm also over here like trying to figure myself out as a person and realize that it's not too late to improve myself and change things that I don't like, and it is a struggle and it's difficult, but I can do that. I can change some things. So it's very much a parallel journey that I'm on at the same time as mothering an older child, also figuring out myself as I'm becoming older myself. And you know, I've also been made very aware that I have to just cling to my faith in God as much as I can. And that's something that I know is obvious, and it's something that I believe, and I know this. But just like most fickle humans and most fickle Christians, even though I love God and I've been a Christian almost my whole life, I still say that I'm fickle, because I very easily will backslide in my relationship with God when I feel like things are going my way. But then as soon as something bad happens, I find myself praying more and reading the Bible more, and that's ridiculous, but that's the pattern I fall into. I think a lot of us do. And so there are things that I'm trying really hard to do the best I can from a mothering standpoint, do the best I can as a person standpoint, and then trying really hard to just have faith in God for the rest. And that is very much where I am right now. It is a struggle. It's not easy. I mean, people who would say just because you're a Christian that life is easy, that's a lie. We were never promised that our life is going to be easy just because we're Christians. And we have just as many troubles and struggles as other people. And it's what you do with your troubles and struggles that really sets us apart. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on right now. And it is hard. And it's every day, and it takes conscious effort and thought and planning, and I don't do it well all the time. But it is something that you do get to a certain point with any situation in life, motherhood being no different, that once you have done the most you can do and the best you can do, what else can you do besides give the rest of it to God? So I'm also trying to work on that, which is a struggle for me, because I am a control, and I want to know what's going to happen, and I want to know how it's going to end, and I want to have as much say-so in how it goes as I can, and that's just not the case. So very much working on trying to be okay with that as well. Being a mom is the most exhausting, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, wonderful, fulfilling, life-giving experience that we have on earth. And it's the greatest gift we have on earth aside from salvation. But that doesn't mean that it is easy or that it was ever promised to be. So if you've got younger kids, try to embrace maybe the simpler time. I know it doesn't seem simple and you're pulled in a million different directions and you're busy and they need you for everything. They're all of their needs, their physical needs, their, you know, they need to eat and go here and go there and their boo-boos and bath time and all that stuff. They need you for a lot of physical things. But the times are a little bit simpler in some ways. There's a little bit less, usually, unless you've got a child that's like sick or has a disability or something, there's usually less emotional effort involved in taking care of younger kids. If you've got older teens or young adults like I do, I am right there with you. And if you're struggling in any of the ways that I've talked about in today's video, just know that you're not struggling alone. I feel like so much talk is put on, and it's fine, you know, it's rightfully so, about having, you know, being a mom of younger kids. And I get that because I was a mom of younger kids at one point. I'm now also seeing the struggles and the difficulties and the amazing things, but also the challenges that come with mothering older kids. If you're struggling and you're having a hard time, even though it's an amazing time, it's an exciting time. They have so many different opportunities. They have all these decisions to make and all these, you know, hope for the future that they have and everything, and the hopes that you have for them. It is still a very unsettling time in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things up in the air. There's a lot of big decisions to be made, some of which can be very, very impactful on the rest of their life. And also, you know, if you have an older child, then you're probably around the same age as me, and you are older. And maybe you feel like, you know, you should have all your stuff together by now. You know, you should have this mothering stuff down pat. But it's just like anything else when you're a mom. If you have been a mom at all for a while, as soon as you think you have it all figured out, something changes and you have to kind of turn and pivot and be able to kind of think on your feet. And this is the same way. It's a season of life where you have to be thinking about going forward, but also looking back and realizing, you know, maybe I should have done this differently. You can't go back and change it, but you can maybe change it going forward, or with your oldest or with your youngest. It's not too late for you to improve yourself as a person. You don't have to give up on yourself just because you have older kids or just because you are older yourself. It doesn't mean that time is up and you're done and you can't do anything for yourself and you can't take this time to really reflect and decide what you want to change. You know, there's so many things that as your child is changing and growing, you are also changing and growing, and that's okay. But it is a struggle sometimes. It can be very difficult. So to answer the question, is it easier to raise older kids than younger kids? Absolutely, 100% no, it is not. But just like motherhood in general, it's all about staying the course and trying your hardest, doing your best, and leaving the rest up to God. So I hope this video was encouraging for you guys. I am really glad that I made it through the whole thing without crying. That's very surprising for me because lately I will cry at the drop of a hat, which if you know me, I don't cry. I'm not a crier, but I have cried more in the last 2 years than I think I have my entire life put together. And I don't know why that is, but it has been that's a whole other thing for me, is like figuring out like what is going on with me. But for whatever reason, that's been happening, and I'm very glad that I got through this video without it. I didn't even feel like I necessarily wanted to. So maybe God did answer my prayer when I sat down to film this video. I was like, please help me through this. So maybe he did, and that's why. But I hope it was helpful and encouraging for you guys. If it was, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I do have a motherhood playlist. I'll link for you in the description box. I do want to make more videos about maybe not so much parenting older kids, but just this other journey that I'm on. I talked about that in those other videos I made at the beginning of the year about like just challenging myself, trying to better myself, not give up on myself just because I do have older kids, just because I am almost 44 years old. I don't want to give up on myself. I really don't. And I feel like I have a lot of ways in the past. Like I've just kind of thought, oh, I'm an adult now, this is how it is. But that's not how it has to be. So if you want to see more videos along that path, kind of that journey, let me know in the comments by saying yes. And then if you have any ideas of what you'd like me to talk about specifically, I'd be really interested to know what you guys want to see. But I hope this video spoke to you. Make sure you share it with any mom friends that you have. Even if they don't have older kids now, they will one day. And it might be an encouragement to them. So I hope you will share it with your friends and family. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.